Did they make contact?
No. It's pretty close, but this is going to be a drag race.
Right Look there. At this.
Moves him to win it. Carl Edwards bump and dump and run.
Here comes Gordon right up to the bumper again.
You hear that wheel spin, Benny?
Yeah, I did hear that wheel spin.
The bump and run.
There it is.
Gordon underneath to the lead. 2 laps to go.
And Maine really turned around, made a Riley's cage up.
Welcome to the Bump and Run podcast. I'm your host, Michael D.Y., joined by my two best friends, Matt, the Statman Reilly, and Eric, Daytona Ron. Hope you guys had a great weekend. Hope you guys had yourselves a James, Dennis, Allen, Hamlin type of weekend. He was the big winner at the Cookout Southern 500 at Darlington. We know Denny loves a woman in black, and the lady in black with the track too tough to tame. He tamed it on Sunday night. And if you took our pick seriously, I picked Dennis to win. You could have scored yourself some money if you're betting on the DraftKings or the FanDuel. And make sure, if you're winning that money, let us know. Tell us on Twitter at BumpTheLetterNRunPod. Tweet at us, like, share, subscribe if you're liking this podcast. Tell all your friends. Spread the word. Get the word out there. We're like grassroots NASCAR. We're trying to spread this thing to the masses. Give them some great NASCAR content. We got some great NASCAR content coming to you guys tonight. But first, Matt, Daytona Ron, how's your guys' weekend? I know, Matt, you said you had to watch the race Monday morning. What was going on?
Well, we got to spend a lot of Saturday together. We were at the same wedding. Congratulations to our friends Mike and Hannah on the new marriage there. Hope
Absolutely.
all goes well with that.
Congratulations to Dr. and Mrs. DePietro. Do you guys feel like that was like as big of a flex in my years? Because I mean, we've all been to a ton of weddings, you know, but I've never been to a doctor wedding, so I never heard them introduce the couple as Dr. and Mrs. I'm like, man, Mike's flexing on all of us hard. You know?
Right.
I've never heard that before either.
No.
Thankfully for me, all through my high school career, he sat in front of me. So I had a doctor pretty much sitting in front of me throughout high school, kind of.
That you cheated off of.
Yeah, not kind of. Probably the reason I made it out of high school.
Hey, as long as you have that piece of paper at the end of the day, that's all that matters. You're doing just fine.
That's it. Yeah. So, I had to watch the race on Monday, yesterday morning, as we record here on Tuesday evening. So we had first game of the season for my Notre Dame Fighting Irish. They squeaked it out. It was a hell of a game. It was a lot closer than I wanted it to be. They were definitely the superior team over Florida State, and the game ended up going to overtime, and we kind of got lucky. But yeah, I mean, my loyalty went to Notre Dame, especially because it was the first game of the season there. So I did everything in my power to avoid any spoilers. I know you guys already know some of the things that I had to do.
Yeah.
For example, during the Notre Dame game, on the bottom scroll there, as they're going through all the scores of everything that's happening in sports that day, I saw it coming up to NASCAR, and it was at the time, it was late in the game, and I knew the race had ended already. So I knew they were going to have the results. So I literally extended my hand out so I couldn't see it. And then I also had my wife tell me like when it went by. So I was doing everything. And then the next morning I was getting ready. I was at my dad's house. We were in for the wedding and everything, packing up, getting ready to leave to come back down to my apartment. And I opened up Snapchat, and one of our buddies, actually a fan of the show, Carmen, innocently had sent me a picture of frickin' Denny doing it looked like doing a burnout, and like
Yeah.
I pretty much dropped to my knees, like just yelling up at the skies like, no, like I did everything to avoid it, and I ruined it. It wasn't Carmen's fault. He had no idea. I ruined it on myself.
No, yeah.
So I watched.
He loves our James Dennis Hamlin joke that we've been going with the last couple weekends. And that's what he sent. He's like, congratulations to James Hamlin, you know?
Yeah.
I didn't even think to warn you, because I got the same Snapchat. I was cracking up. I didn't even think, you know?
So I consumed the race a lot differently, than we usually do. I already had the result in hand, but that's all I knew. I knew two things. I knew Kyle Busch wrecked out because Whitey was gracious enough to let me know, because I had him in my fantasy lineup and I had to switch him out.
I was so conflicted over that.
I know you were. I didn't know, and I appreciate it, by the way.
Yeah.
So I didn't know what happened. I just knew that he got taken out, and I know we'll get into that. And then at that point, I knew Denny won. So it was just a matter of like, okay, Kyle Larson was dominating the race. So I was like very curious to see like how he gave it up.
Mm-hmm.
So I had a little bit of fun with that, but it definitely changed the way I consume the race.
Yeah, I was laughing when I was looking at your lineup. So in our fantasy lineups right now, me and Matt were very close for second and third. I was in second, he was in third. And I was having a bad night. I did not make very good fantasy picks. And I was looking at him and I saw he had Kyle Busch in his lineup after the wreck. I'm like, ooh, do I tell him? Oh, I don't know. This is big points for me. And then you texted me literally like 2 or 3 minutes later, like, hey, Whitey, let me know if I need to make a garage swap. And I was like, you want to know what? I'll be honest. I don't like to. I felt weird not telling you to begin with.
That was nice.
So yeah, and you ended up getting first. Actually, I got bumped down to 5th place, and you're currently running in second in our fantasy team. So.
But what's going to happen is like come the Bristol race. I know I've talked about it on here in 2 weeks. I'm at a wedding. And because of this little debacle with me finding out early, I'm literally just going to shut my phone off until I get back home on the Sunday after and actually watch the race. So I'm going to be going into that fantasy race blind.
Well, let's hope I can make up some fantasy points then back up for Bristol.
That's right.
How about you, Eric? Besides the wedding on Saturday, we were hanging out and stuff. How was your Sunday and your Monday this past weekend?
Well, instead of booze, I got a gallon of water today.
We're all in the same boat.
Yep. Your boy's hurting. He's got to hydrate. It was, I like to take advantage of these long weekends and enjoy myself a little bit. So Friday, banged up. Saturday, wedding. Sunday, the race. And, unfortunately for me, a couple of those beers and I was in charge of manning the grill and, I had a fire going. And, last 2 out of 3 weeks, I've been shooting myself in the foot and I forgot to set my fantasy roster 2 out of the last 3 weeks.
Oh,
and,
no.
When that happens, you guys, you don't get the bonus points and all of that. So, I was a little devastated that I forgot to set my roster come, first week of playoffs. And, the guys that I started, not terrible, but those bonus points, man, they mean a lot. So that was a little heartbreaking to know that I did that to myself. But go ahead, Matt.
Sorry, I was just going to say Steph did the same thing. I reminded her 2 or 3 different times on Sunday throughout the day.
Mm-hmm.
And the race, I knew the race had started and I said, I hope you set your lineup because the race started. And like the dismay that washed across her face when she realized she forgot.
Oh, it was like, and our buddy Jay came up and, we were sitting there and the race goes green and exactly like you just said, Matt, as soon as the cars started going on that restart, I realized
and
I go, just like I sat back in my chair and I look at Jay and I go, I didn't set my lineup. And he goes, it's just a terrible feeling to have, because like it does make the races a little bit more interesting. Certain weeks it makes it a little bit more stressful, but overall, great long weekend. Love having these night races on these long weekends. Gives an opportunity to hang out and have a few beers and. Maybe that was my problem. I ran to the store right before. Son of a bitch. But what are you going to do? It was good weekend of racing. I got to see the trucks, so I did get to watch that this week. Xfinity I missed.
Oh, that reminds me of a pickle lane.
I'm glad I kind of missed it. I'm not a big fan of that 9 car that won in the Xfinity series. Overall, it was a great weekend. I enjoyed myself, but now I'm in recovery mode and waiting for, I guess, this upcoming night race.
Well, Eric, if it
Oh.
makes you feel any better, I did set my lineup and you still beat me by 13 points. So that just goes to show you how bad I did. In fact, I'm going to be wrecking myself because of that a little bit later on. We'll get into that. But first, you guys want to jump into the latest NASCAR news?
Let's hear it.
Well, I got to get some theme music for the NASCAR news or something. I got to work on the production of this podcast.
What is that, like world news tonight?
NASCAR news.
Global guts. Sorry, global.
NASCAR news. All right. So in the latest week in NASCAR, it was announced last week 8 Cup teams will be doing a tire test for the next gen car. Actually today and tomorrow, September 7th and 8th. Looking forward to seeing some footage of that. We actually saw a little glimpse. Austin Dillon earlier tweeted a picture. We got to see that number 3 car with that number moved forward. And at first I was a little mad about it. Do you guys, we'll talk about it in the pickle lane, but we'll get into your thoughts about that a little bit later. But apparently the tire test was delayed today due to rain also. I mean, Florida weather in the summertime, you're going to get pop-up thunderstorms all day long, every day of the week. So we'll see what happens again tomorrow. Eric, you actually made a pretty good point too. It's interesting to see that only certain Cup teams are invited to these practices and whatnot. You being an Eric Jones fan, RPM was not invited to the practice. Just wondering when they'll get their track time too.
Yeah, I tweeted at Kelly
Crandall
on Tuesday asking like, hey, like I see these 7 or 8 teams are there. What about Richard Petty Motorsports and Eric Jones? Like, any word on when he would get an opportunity to test this next gen car?
Yeah.
And she replied back fairly quick and stated that parts and pieces are still being delivered to some of these race shops and are still being received in. And every team, I guess, they do have one car right now, and they're only able to build for what they have. And starting, which would be this month, she said, open testing for all organizations and teams. Open, and so every team will eventually get an opportunity to test this next gen car. But I wish Eric was one of the first to get a little jump start on some of these other teams, but he'll get a shot.
Yeah, I know with that RCR Alliance though, I'm sure they're sharing some sort of data from these tests and everything. And you want to know what? I just thinking about it right now. I work in supply chain somewhat. I'm an inventory coordinator. I move product in between one warehouse to another and stuff, make sure everything's stocked. And we're having tons and tons of problems with our supply chains over in China, just getting containers. They're sitting at ports for weeks and weeks on end. They'll be sitting on the water for a month outside the port waiting to get in. And then even our suppliers are having trouble with supplying raw materials to make parts, even in our American manufacturing teams. So I wonder if that's going to play a factor or be a piece of the puzzle come 2022. Now that, teams aren't manufacturing their own parts, they are getting them from suppliers. I hope the suppliers could keep up, especially with teams like Rick Ware Racing or Ricky Stenhouse Jr. over at JTG Doherty. If they start smashing up cars early on and we might have a parts issue midway through the season. I mean, we're seeing it all over the country with supply chains.
That's a great point, Whitey. I didn't think of that. I mean, Matt, with your job as well as mine, like it's tough to get parts, and especially like we use little chips and circuit boards in our electrical, and they're tough to come by, and we're having to order a bunch at a time. So that is a good point. Come next season, if there are any issues and these teams need to build the cars, that could become a factor later on in the year.
Yeah, I never thought about that either. That's a really good point. I mean, even things as simple as like furniture and stuff like that is backed out, X amount of months and weeks. And,
so I don't know how much you know about the furniture industry. Apparently, there's a conspiracy. They keep selling stuff that they don't have, and they don't know when they're gonna have it, and then they keep lying to people. Like I keep seeing stories from like Ashley Furniture and stuff like that, where like people bought stuff last year and they still haven't delivered anything. They took the money and there's no dates, no ETAs, nothing.
Well, I hope you're wrong, because we bought on Sunday, we bought our couch and our bedroom set.
Yeah.
and we put half down. So we're not expected to be in our new house until like March or April now. So we have time, but like I hope that they didn't just take our money and run.
Well, I hope you decided to go with the floor model to save some money. Maybe they'll ship them next week. Fingers crossed everything goes well for you. I'm sure by then they'll have all the issues buttoned up. But speaking of wrecking race cars, one team that won't have to worry about wrecking race cars in 2022, Starcom Racing announced they will sell their NASCAR charter to Spire Motorsports. No word on where Quinn Half will go, but we will keep you updated on our buddy Quinn Half here on the Bump and Run podcast. Someone else looking for a ride, Ryan Preece, is going to be looking for a new team after JTG Doherty announced they will move to a one-car team in 2022. It seems Ricky Stenhouse Jr. will maintain his ride. I tell you what, people love to bust on Ricky Stenhouse Jr., but I think he's really been improving over the last 2 years with JTG Doherty. What do you guys think about Ricky right now?
I agree. I think he was running like around 12th, hovering around 11th, 12th, 13th all night in Darlington for the most part. So yeah, I like busting on him, but I like Ricky. He's a racer's racer. You know, he's aggressive and he cares. And as far as Ryan Preece goes, again, we might have even mentioned this earlier in the season. Prime candidate to go back down to the truck series, Xfinity. He has all the talent in the world to go back down there and dominate. But he's also a short track guy, an asphalt guy. I wouldn't be surprised if he couldn't get a ride. He'll go back and do that next year. But I think he'll find something within the top 3 series.
Absolutely. Ryan Preece is definitely one of those guys. No matter what's going to happen to him, he's going to be racing a car. And from what I hear, he's already open to going to Trucks Xfinity. He has no problems going to a lower series.
Have that open mindset, and I think teams will respond to that. That just shows you want to get behind the wheel of anything in race. You're a racer. Hey, give me an opportunity, and I'm going to take that, and I'm going to make the best of it. And that's what that kind of attitude shows me out of Ryan Preece. And I actually have him down here as like one of my highlight drivers from this past weekend's race. Like, he actually ran really well. He was up in the top 10. For a lot of the race at Darlington, and for him to lose that ride and to still be out there giving it his all, showing these other teams, hey, like, I could take this car and I could run well with these top guys at such grueling long race that Darlington is. He was running well all day, and I took notice of it watching on Sunday night, and I think whatever ride he goes in, it'll be well deserved.
Yeah, he's definitely one of those guys, especially if you're playing like daily fantasy, like DraftKings. Ryan Preece is always a good budget pick to get some consistency. The only problem is every now and then something happened. It seemed more last year he was getting into wrecks more often than he has this year, and usually they weren't his fault. He was just caught up in someone else's mess. Let's see.
Bush scheme though too, man.
The Bush Beans.
The Bush Beans paint scheme, one of my favorite paint schemes. I don't know why, it just looks good. Maybe under the lights, I always see it. He runs it. It's like brown copper.
It's got that copper color, yeah. No, I agree. That is a sharp looking car, and you're right. It is usually at night races you'll see it underneath the lights. It's got that glimmer to it.
Yep.
Let's see. It seems 2311 and Front Row Motorsports might be working on a deal to use one of their charters. And there might be a possible merger. Details are a little unclear. We'll keep you updated on this one. Just wanted to bring it up real quick. But Front Row said they will be in Cup next year. So I wonder, maybe there's some chance maybe they'll become some sort of affiliate team of 2311. Maybe make the switch over to Toyota. Not exactly sure what might happen there. Maybe they just might lease out a charter. And we know Anthony Alfredo's that second car. I don't think Michael McDowell is going anywhere. So I'm assuming Alfredo might be out at the end of the season. We'll see what happens with that. Something I thought was really interesting, and a series that you guys like to talk about a lot. I've seen a couple episodes, NASCAR and I Am Athlete, the YouTube series, announced a new content partnership. They'll be working on 16 new videos for their YouTube channel coming up in the next year, and they'll explore sports, culture, and the fan experience. You guys, Matt, you got me on this series a while back when Dale Jr. was on there. What do you guys think about them expanding their partnership?
I love it. I mean, it crosses, for Eric and I being huge football fans, it kind of crosses our lives there because the guys who do I Am Athlete, for those who don't know, it's Fred Taylor, Chad Ochocinco, Brandon Marshall, and Crowder. Was it Channing Crowder?
That or Jameson. One of them.
Jamison Crowder. Who's Channing Crowder?
That was a wide receiver, was Jameson. I think
Eric froze, and he'll be back on with us. But yeah, anyway, it's a really, really good podcast series. I watched one with Dale Jr., which
Eric's
obviously Eric is back.
Eric, you froze there for a little bit.
Yeah, I didn't come in.
Oh, okay.
It was the Dale Jr. interview was really, really good that they did, and then the Kyle Busch interview that they did, it actually got me to really appreciate Kyle Busch. They really go in depth with them, and it's a laid back atmosphere, and it's kind of an anything goes interview. There's not a lot that's held back, and it was really well done. So I really, really look forward to these 16 new episodes that they're going to be working with NASCAR on.
I just look forward to seeing Chad Ochocinco's wardrobe, because him during that Dale Jr. one, he just has drip, man. He's so cool.
Yeah.
Like they all seem like really cool guys, like you would want to hang out with and just kind of shoot the shit, tell stories. And that Dale Jr. episode's absolutely phenomenal. You could see like kind of the gears turning in their heads as he's telling some of these stories, and like the kind of the perspective changing in the moment on the sport and stuff. So that's always fun to see. I just always wonder at the end, they wanted to go see Dale Jr.'s saloon town that he has. He has like this property where like it's built into this old timey like Western saloon town. And I wonder if they ever actually went, because
no,
they didn't.
I have the answer for you. So Junior, that week that they did that interview, Junior also had Brandon Marshall on his podcast. And I guess, I don't know, maybe it was the following week, Junior said to his co-host Mike Davis, like, I didn't know they were serious about wanting to go out on the town. Like, he's like, because at the end of the I Am Athlete interview they had, they were like, let's go out on the town tonight. They were in Charlotte.
Yeah.
And then Junior said on his podcast, like, I didn't know they were serious, or I would have taken them out on the town. So I guess they didn't end up doing that. But Dale said that he eventually wants to get them back out at some point.
Junior, you got to make it right. You got to get them out there.
That's right.
All right. And then let's see. We got two more pieces of news. According to Jordan Bianchi of The Athletic, NASCAR is in talks with the LA Coliseum to run the Clash there in 2022. They say they want to replicate Bowman Gray Stadium. What do you guys think about that? Right now, the LA Coliseum, I think, seats 70,000. So, hosts many football games, the Rose Bowl and the Olympics back in the day. Not the Rose Bowl?
Rose Bowl is a whole separate stadium. The LA Coliseum is home for USC.
Oh, okay. All right.
Those rat bastards.
All right. I'm not even gonna say anything there. Yeah, what do you guys think about it, though? Apparently they're trying to speculate whether it's gonna be a dirt race or not, because right now there is no concrete in the LA Coliseum to make a racetrack, and I can't see them putting up or laying down concrete or asphalt and then putting up safer barriers and stuff like that. So do you think it's possible we might just see a dirt exhibition race 2 weeks before Daytona next year?
I saw someone tweet at Dave Moody and ask him, like, hey, like, there is no racetrack there. Like, how are they going to make this happen? As Matt and I were texting earlier in the day about it too, like the logistics side of it, like there is no racetrack there. I can't see them just building a racetrack for a one-off race.
No.
As far as like pavement goes, but Moody's response to the guy was, yeah, it's going to be a temporary racetrack they're going to build. And it's like, what does that even mean? Like, I don't understand what temporary racetrack means. But, Whitey, the first thing that came to my head was dirt track. Just like the Bristol, throw some dirt down there. And, some dirt tracks, that dirt hardens up as long as the weather's fine. and it could race like an asphalt racetrack. You get some down there, so I could see them doing a dirt track. I just don't know how they would go about not ruining the actual Coliseum that's already there by building. I like the idea. Don't get me wrong about that.
Yeah.
I just see how they're going to actually get it done. And I'd be really curious to see I don't know, I guess a temporary racetrack being assembled. I don't know. I like the idea, but I just don't know how logistically they're going to do it.
Yeah, to me, it just sounds like a logistical nightmare from the start. And the thing that really set out, like they said, like, oh, we want it to be like Bowman Gray Stadium because, you know, Bowman Gray Stadium, if you don't know, that's down in North Carolina, Winston-Salem, but that is only a quarter-mile track. And that's kind of what they're looking at in the Coliseum. Here's the thing, though. Bowman Gray's still open. Why not just go to Bowman Gray? Throw up some temporary safer barriers. I'm sure it'll probably cost less. The only thing is, you know, Bowman Gray Stadium only seats like 20,000 people, if that.
The thing that
I don't know.
The thing that I heard is basically we all know we've talked about this season and how the sport. We just talked about the I Am Athlete and, you know, getting the culture and getting more
some more people.
Sport. And, you know, with all these NFL players and big music artists, Pitbull being, you know, introduced and they're dumping money into our sport. LA, as far as the TV,
that's the spot you want to be at.
It's the #1 TV destination. You go rating wise, that's why LA. Yes, it might not be our fan base.
Yeah,
it's going to be there.
It's going to be an event.
Yes, our fan base, diehards, they're going to watch the Daytona 500. But you want to get new eyes on the sport for the Daytona 500. So they were talking about today on the morning drive. It was like, you have the Super Bowl, then you have an off week, which would be the Clash.
Yeah.
Then after that, you have the Super Bowl, then you have Daytona and Speed. And like, it's the perfect, there's lulls in between these sporting events to be a perfect opportunity for eyes on our sport, which would be NASCAR, and to do it in a TV market like LA, I think that's where they're going. They're doing it to try to draw new fans in, not necessarily make the fans that are already there happy or mad or whatever. Like, people are obviously going to probably, you know, go to Twitter and bitch about it.
Oh, of course, they're going to complain regardless, you know?
Yeah, but they're the same people. They're the same people who complain every year that the Clash sucks, it lost its allure and all this. But
so for me, and I will
me too.
Like it Speed Weeks in general doesn't pull me in like it used to.
No.
It really. So I could see why they're doing it.
The only reason I watch Speed Weeks is because it's the first NASCAR event since the previous season ended. So yeah, absolutely, I'm with you, Eric. Like, I'm down to see something new, and I know why you share the same feelings. I'm down to see something new. It just sounds logistically like I'm happy it's not my problem type of deal.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't know how they're going to do it. It almost has to be a dirt track. I don't know how you could put a temporary.
I'm assuming it has to be a dirt track.
Yeah,
has
to be. So it'll be interesting. I mean, as much as I rag on, you know, the Coliseum because it's USC's home turf, it's one of the great stadiums in American history, American sports history, American football history. So it would be really, really cool to see a NASCAR race there.
Now, tinfoil hat is going on here, fellas. And my conspiracy is this a test run? Because it has nothing to do with points. It has nothing to do with standings as far as anything to do with the regular season, the Clash. Are they trying, like Moody said, a makeshift or a temporary racetrack? Are they testing this out to possibly have more one-off races at some of these legendary short tracks and some of these legendary tracks that Junior goes to and we're trying to get?
Could be.
Hey, we could do something and maybe go there. They're saying what there is there. Let's not redo a whole entire racetrack in a stadium. Let's just bring a race there and just make it a little, I hate to use the word gimmick, but like maybe it's their way of
a testing ground.
A testing ground, you know?
Yeah. It's not a bad theory. That's probably what they're doing, to be honest with you.
Because just like with baseball, how they went to the actual, you know, with the Yankees and the White Sox. The game out in
in Iowa in the cornfields. Yeah.
That was awesome. No one ever thought that they would actually get a Yankees and White Sox game actually played at that stadium. And you know what? Baseball made it happen. So maybe NASCAR kind of took that approach of like, wow, look at the TV ratings that game got. Look at the people. Wow, the buzz around all of that.
Yeah.
So imagine buzz around that NASCAR race at the LA Coliseum, dirt track, before the season starts. That would generate a lot of buzz that NASCAR would want to get the season off to a stellar start in Daytona.
No, I agree. That would definitely be a cool way. Oh, Jesus, I'm knocking stuff over in my room. That would be a cool way to do like something like that, like some one-off track like that. And I know even they've talked about doing it in Chicago, not necessarily the street race, but something around where the Cubs play at Wrigley Field and everything, like something in the parking lot. So maybe, who knows? And you know what? Like you said, the Clash has kind of lost its allure throughout the years and everything. And they're looking at like, I think 2 weeks before Daytona. So it's not even going to be part of Speed Week. And then you want to know what that condenses Speed Week down even more, where you're like, you don't really need the Clash there. I just wonder too, will they introduce the new car there, or will they save that for Daytona and run all the old cars at the Coliseum?
An added layer. That's a good point.
But let's see. Next piece of news, the most breaking news. Today, Kyle Busch was fined $50,000 for his actions during the Darlington race. After he wrecked out, he drove through the garage area pretty quickly, knocked over some cones. Some people had to stop and jump out of the way. Do any of you guys have anything to say about that, or should we save that for later on in the segment? Is that a wreckers for anybody?
I only have one thing to say, and that's I think he should have kept driving it right onto the hauler.
Yeah. Why stop right there, right? We can talk about that a little later on.
Okay, sounds good. But yeah, that's basically the news for the week. You guys want to jump into some NASCAR history?
I love this, dude. When I read this today, Whitey, I love this story.
All right. So it was I believe it was September 1st. In 1985, I didn't double check, but I know it was definitely the Darlington, the weekend. $1 million bill. In 1984, of course, Winston was the primary sponsor of NASCAR, and they used to like to do some crazy stuff. Like they had the No Bull, where a driver can win $1 million, and so could a fan. I think Dale Earnhardt won that in 1998. At Talladega. Was it 98 in Talladega, or was it 2000 in Talladega? Can't remember exactly the year. Either way, in 1984, Winston was like, hey, what can we do? And they announced a promotion where if any driver could win 3 of the 4 crown jewels in one season, they would win $1 million. So the crown jewels, of course, were the Daytona 500, the Winston 500 at Talladega, the Coca-Cola 600 at Charlotte, and the Southern 500 at Darlington, which just happened this past weekend. In 1985, Bill Elliott goes, hey, maybe I could be the one to win that first $1 million. And he started the season off great. He won the Daytona 500 in dominating fashion. Talladega rolls over to the schedule, and while mid-race, his car is smoking. Not really sure what was going on, but they got that car back on track. His pit crew went to work, and he was about a lap and a half down, and he made it back to the lead lap under green flag conditions. Absolutely amazing performance to later win that race in Talladega. Charlotte rolls around. The Coca-Cola 600. He could taste that $1 million. He just needs to win this one more race. Well, things did not go his way. He led 81 laps of the 400 laps before an issue on pit road. He had a loose lug nut bounce around his wheel well and cut his brake line. Destroyed the team's day. He ended up finishing 18th with one last race to go in the season to pull it off. The Southern 500 at Darlington. Well, Awesome Bill put that number 9 Ford on the pole. But there was plenty of challengers that day. Earnhardt was dominating early on. He led 147 laps before spinning out in turn 2. Cale Yarborough was also leading, and he was looking like he might win. But then all of a sudden he lost his power steering. The car was smoking like crazy. Bill Elliott was like 3 cars behind him. If you check out the highlight videos, I'll post something on Twitter, the highlights. It's absolutely amazing. He cuts off into that lower groove of Darlington, avoids Cale Yarborough. Yarborough's smoking all over the place. He goes into the pits. You think, all right, Awesome Bill could pull this one off. And he did. But over the next 40 laps to the finish, Cale Yarborough was right on his tail. Awesome Bill from Dawsonville, he only beat him by 0.6 seconds. But he won that third of 4th races, the last opportunity to do it. And well, Awesome Bill from Dawsonville suddenly became $1 Million Bill. He was the first and only to do it up until 1997, the last year of the Winston Million. Jeff Gordon was able to pull it off. And then in 1998, Winston introduced the No Bull Winston Million prizes. But I thought that was a pretty cool story about Darlington and old Awesome Bill from Dawsonville. I never knew why they called him $1 Million Bill, but apparently winning that $1 million scored him, I think it was 5 times the amount of what he made at the Daytona 500 that year. And that's the highest points paying race there is in our season. What do you guys think about the NASCAR history this week? Did you know that story?
I knew of $1 Million Bill. I thought it was because like the All-Star races. I figured, okay, he won a lot of All-Star races, so he got that name for All-Star. But I did not know that is how he actually got the name.
Yeah, agreed. I thought it was an all-star race too. That's why I thought he was $1 Million Bill, but we were wrong. So they need to figure it out. We have some really, really big companies that are the quote unquote title sponsors of our sport, with Coca-Cola, Xfinity, Monster, Geico. They've got a lot of money in those companies. They've got to do something like this. I think that would be amazing.
I absolutely agree, especially when you look at the Truck Series and the Xfinity Series. They do stuff like this all the time. What's it, like the Triple Truck Challenge? Is that what it is down the? What's that?
The Dash for Cash.
The Dash for Cash and the Xfinity.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's opportunities to do something like this, and even in Xfinity, it's just $100,000. You don't have to give away $1 million. But I mean, there's got to be some sort of promotion that they could do.
With how much they charge for cable, they can afford giving out $1 million.
Well, yeah, oh yeah. All right, you guys want to jump into the truck race though, or the racing weekend in general?
Yep.
All right, we had a truck race, but you want what? Usually the truck race is on Friday. The truck race was Sunday afternoon. We had an Xfinity Series race on Saturday though. Noah Gragson was the big winner down in Darlington, and I didn't see the race. And I didn't even, so we were all hanging out at the wedding. Matt, you came up to me and you just go, Noah fucking Gragson. And I'm like, what? I'm like, I don't know what's going on, but I just go, yeah, I can't believe it.
Yeah, Alex Genio came up to me actually, and he's like, dude, Gregson just won the race. I go, son of a bitch.
Yeah. I know a friend of the show, our buddy Justin Pierce, he was pumped about it. He was tweeting at Bump and Run Pod on Twitter, kind of giving me a little rousing. I think he knows I run the Twitter page over there, and he knows my disdain for Noah Gragson. But you gotta say congratulations to him. I believe that's his 3rd win of his Xfinity Series career. And yeah.
With the way he acts, you'd think it was his 30th win in the Xfinity Series.
Well, it seems like he's doing another year in Xfinity next year, so he'll have some opportunities to try to pull something out of his hat. But you want to what? That you know, what are you gonna do? I don't know. I don't even know what to say about Noah Gragson.
We didn't see it because we were at the wedding.
Yeah.
And apparently he earned it. Wasn't, he didn't cheap his way into it. He earned it.
He earned it.
Like you said, you got to give him due.
All right, but we had a truck and cup doubleheader on Sunday. Sheldon Creed going back-to-back in playoff wins so far. And really wasn't expecting Sheldon Creed. He kind of came out of nowhere in this playoffs, really lighting it up very early. I had my eyes on John Hunter Nemechek, and so far, a little quiet from old John Hunter. But did you guys check out the truck race? Or Matt, were you still surviving and getting by from Saturday night's drinking?
I was busy apparently getting my money stolen by a furniture company.
Oh man, well, I apologize.
No, I watched the race. Like you said, Whitey, John Hunter ran his normal race early. He was up there battling and seemed to be one of the trucks to look out for. But like you said, back-to-back wins and just basically saying, hey, I'm the defending champ, pretty much, like, dethrone me.
Yeah.
And he's going out there, and he, this is when it matters. John Hunter could win 12 races during the regular season. Look at what Harvick did. Regular season, It matters, it helps, but that pressure builds come this time of year, and who could put that pressure behind them and still go out there and compete and come out with these wins. And it seems that John Hunter might have a little problem on his hands here. So it was trucks are always fun. I mean, don't get me wrong.
Oh, yeah.
They make it 3-4 wide when it's only supposed to ever be 2 wide.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's always just like, what are they doing almost? Like, it's like, how are they getting around this racetrack? Ton of cautions, and it's like, at one point in time, I remember like walking away because I'm like, okay, like it just turned into caution. I'm like, another caution. It's always, they're slipping and sliding. It was a fun race to watch.
The same thing happened in the springtime too when they went to Darlington. Like, they were going 3-4 wide. I'm like, there's no grooves there. Like, what are you doing?
I'm like, like, you watch them go into it, like, this isn't going to end well. I remember saying that this isn't going to end well. Well,
it's like watching without at the risk of offending them, because they're obviously amazingly talented individuals, like top tier in the entire world. But it's almost like watching, like, going to your local dirt track and watching like the kids run around, because they're out there trying to figure it out.
Oh,
and on like the highest level possible, but they're out there trying to figure it out. And it's funny, but it's like, oh my God, it's entertaining as hell.
It really does show you, because like you said, they are top level drivers. Like, you put them on a short track anywhere in the country and they're winning, no problem, but it's funny to see the difference between, trucks, Xfinity and Cup, and where those levels are. And you're right. That's why I love Truck Series racing too. I love seeing the young talent figuring it out.
It's comparable. A couple of years ago, I had gone to in our market, we have the Pittsburgh Penguins minor league team in our area, the Wilkes-Barre Scranton Penguins.
Yeah.
I had gone to see a game of theirs, and then like 2 weeks later, I was out in Pittsburgh for the big Penguins game, and you could just it's a huge difference as far as speed and talent, and it's unbelievable. And it's the same thing with the trucks, Xfinity and Cup.
Speaking of Cup, James Hamlin, the track too tough to tame. He tamed it on Sunday night, 500 miles, and it was a long one. 11 cautions for 52 laps, 18 lead changes among 10 drivers, 4 hours and 8 minutes. I believe it was longer than the Coca-Cola 600. Your top 5: James Dennis, Alan Hamlin. Was that it? Yeah, Alan Hamlin. Kyle Larson in second. Ross Chastain pulling out a top 3. Good for Ross. Number 4 was Martin Truex Jr., of course, your springtime winner. And in 5th place, Kevin Harvick. Kevin Harvick with the top 5 where it matters most in the playoffs, the opening race of the playoffs. What was your guys' race grade? What'd you think about the race on Sunday night?
I'll go. It's got to be an A. I'd be willing to give it an A+, but it was too long for me. I understand Crown Jewel, which I loved. I think there are certain races that should stay the grueling, 500
endurance
mile
races.
It did feel
felt long.
Like, I remember it was like only maybe halfway through stage 1, and I'm like, wait a minute, like,
yeah,
we're in stage 1 still. So, like, besides that, everything was exactly what I wanted to see from the very first race to in the chase. And, it had the good battles all day long, the playoff drivers in trouble. This racetrack just produces excitement. I know during the pandemic, we went there multiple times because of scheduling and where people could go. And obviously COVID was going on. And those races, they produced excitement too. And they, that racetrack, it deserves that crown jewel in my eyes. And it really showed why on Sunday night, why it deserves that. It is just so hard. Like we just stated how good these drivers are. And quite honestly, they make it look super easy when they're out there. And by all means, it is not easy at Darlington.
No.
It's hot. It's slick. The track to manage your tires. It's a tough, grueling race. And they make it look easy. And I enjoyed the shit out of it, man. I really did. I always night race. You have people and friends over to enjoy the racing. And, to me, that's what we need to start, to go from the Daytona cutoff now into here. NASCAR's nailing it, man. This is, I know I've said it before, that commercial in the beginning. This is going to be the best season ever. And every week, I kind of have to agree.
You have to agree. It's been a great season so far. It was a long one though. I remember at some point I think what was there? There's 367 laps, right? And we were in the 100 amounts, and I'm trying to do the math. I'm are we even halfway done yet? I was getting sleepy. I don't know. Just being at the wedding the day before, not getting great sleep from drinking and whatnot. I was getting sleepy, And I actually heard an interview with Chase Briscoe today. I guess they were having rough radio communications. And he asked the spotter, oh, how many do we have to go? And it kind of cut out. And it was 5 to go. He's oh, all right, 5 to go on the stage. He goes, no, 65 to go. He's oh my God, and that was in stage 2. He still had another 100 some laps after that for stage 3. Stage 3 is long stage. But yeah, I think it was a great race too. How about you, Matt? What was your score for the weekend?
So I consumed it a little differently than everyone else, right? So yeah. I had the result in hand already at least on who won the race. How we got there, I wasn't sure of, but I at least knew who won the race. So that kind of tainted it just a little bit for me. Thanks, Carmen. No. And then another thing too is I was just exhausted from the weekend. Yeah. So I was tired. I was irritable. So I probably wasn't in the best mindset to consume and really, really thoroughly enjoy it. But with that being said, I still enjoyed it. I gave it a B+. The way I took it in was it was kind of an average race to me with big moments sprinkled in. And what I mean by that is you had it seemed like every 30, 40, 50 laps, another playoff guy was having major issues. Yeah. You had McDowell first spin out, wreck his car. Then you had the whole Kyle Busch incident that we talked about. William Byron and Bowman got into it. Chase Elliott, unfortunately, had a major issue, had a DNF. Blaney spun out in the third stage. So you had all these playoff guys having really, really major issues.
What's going on with Penske and their brakes too? What are they doing over there?
Yeah, I know a couple weeks ago we said, maybe they're sabotaging Keselowski's cars because he's leaving, but that's clearly not the case because Blaney also had some issues. But I mean, to me, I liked it. I didn't love it, but I didn't hate it. And like I said, that's probably more or less on me. As a matter of fact, Jeff Gluck did his poll. Was this a good race? And it got a 90.7, which made it the highest rated race this year. So it probably was more or less just the way I consumed it that kind of brought it down for me a little bit, which sucks. But I liked it. I enjoyed it. I wish I didn't know who the winner was. It would have just probably made it that much better. But once again, shame on me. It was a good race. It was Darlington. I also think another thing that we hadn't talked about it either is I hate that they did the throwback race in the May race. Is that when they ran? May, right?
Yeah.
I hate that they made that the May race. I understand why they did it. I still don't like it because it's Labor Day weekend, and that was just part of the specialness always of the Southern 500 for me. At least the last 6 or 7 years that they've been doing the throwback race. So I think that kind of dropped it a point or two for me too. But it was a good race.
See, I don't know, Eric. How do you feel about that? Because I didn't miss the throwback for the Southern 500. I thought, with the playoff implications, it's all I really needed. So I kind of get why NASCAR moved him to the spring. What did you think? Did you miss the throwback vibe to go along with it?
I agree with Matt. I think it's because we're so used to it. It's just something that I was expecting.
Yeah.
I knew why. I knew it wasn't going to happen, obviously. And once the race actually got started, didn't even think about it because like NASCAR, why they did it. I see why they did it. Playoff implications, first race, big night still, labor. Everything just surpassed the throwback for me. Just like any good gimmick, any good run, it's got to come to an end at some point in time.
Yeah.
And sometimes things run their course or become stagnant. We talked about the Clash and a change-up throwback weekend. How many more times are you going to see the same paint schemes kind of redone over and over? So, maybe this is their thing to say, hey, we're going to kind of sprinkle it in here and there, do a couple throwbacks as far as for other teams throughout the season maybe. But as far as, this race, I could see what Matt's saying because we're just so used to it. But once it got going and with the playoff implications and the drivers that are in the playoffs having trouble, man, did I really forget about it.
Yeah, and another thing too that I forgot to mention too is I know Junior said it during the broadcast is once those cars got spread out, which we didn't have a lot of because of all the cautions that we were seeing, but once those cars did spread out, it would take, Junior said it takes 15, 20 laps to set up a pass and then actually execute that pass.
Yeah.
So when it takes that long to make passes, that kind of stinks a little bit, but once again, I know that was also few and far between too because of how many cautions we had with all the problems with the playoff guys. So it was a good race.
Yeah, I don't think I need the throwback. I like the throwback in the spring because half of the excitement about the throwback is the build up to it, seeing people release their paint schemes and see what they do with the sponsors and whatnot. And this race, all I was thinking about was playoffs. After Daytona, all I was thinking about was playoffs. And I was glad it was a Saturday night race too, or a Sunday night race. I'm glad this week is a Saturday night race because I'm still in that I'm amped for the beginning rounds of the playoffs. I can't wait for Saturday at Richmond to see what happens. So for me, the excitement is the playoff storyline. And I gave it an A. It was a long race. I'm not going to lie. My eyes were getting heavy near the end, especially since my guy was not doing well at the end. That kind of took me out of it a little bit. But there was those exciting moments. We saw the catastrophic failures for some guys. Blaney's brakes went out, and then all of a sudden that throws half the field a lap or two down because they had just done green flag pit stops. It throws everyone's pit strategies into a tizzy and everything. So those little tiny things throughout it, I thought it was great. Maybe you want to, maybe not an A. Definitely an A- though. But floating around there, it could have went either way. But I was plenty excited after the race too. I was like, okay, well, I'm happy Denny finally got one. This was the race for Denny we've been waiting for all season, wondering what's going to happen throughout the playoffs now. Wondering, I don't know. I thought it was great. It was everything I want out of the Southern 500. I was just glad it didn't take until 2 a.m. Like a couple years ago at rain delays and stuff, because I don't think I was able to stay up another minute after the race. I was exhausted. What's up, Matt?
I'm gonna make a bold statement, and friend of the show here, Robbie Schrey, is going to enjoy this. Remember a few years ago, our buddy Tony Stewart won the championship, and he was doing nothing until the playoffs started, and then he rattled off 5 wins.
Yeah.
I can see Harvick coming alive here. I mean, he ran really good on Sunday night, And I can see him coming. I mean, I know they've been saying Stewart-Haas Racing has been saying all year that they really lost something this year as far as research and development. Whatever they found last year was kind of outlawed or whatever might have happened.
But that seems to only be affecting him in those high downforce packages, the 550 package. We got a couple short tracks coming up. Darlington, they ran the 750 package, top 5 right there. We got Richmond coming up. We got Bristol coming up after that. Then we go back to 1.5 miles. Las Vegas, I'm assuming, is going to be that low or high downforce package. But then we have Talladega in the round of 12. So I'm feeling like you're right. I think Harvick is setting himself up pretty well for at least a round of 12.
He's a smart, savvy driver. He's coming off a year where he just won 9 races last year. So I mean, it's I could see it happening. I just and it makes me nervous too.
Absolutely. You guys want to jump in the checkers and wreckers here?
Let's do it.
All right, we'll start with you, Eric. What was your checkers and wreckers for the weekend?
My checkers just goes to NASCAR and their schedule and sticking to their guns as far as playoffs and points and nothing. Like you hear a lot about it come this time of year. And do you like playoffs? Do you like the chase? Do you like how NASCAR does this? What about the schedule? And I got to give them credit in the way that this is going. I haven't been this excited for the start of playoffs, for the first race of the playoffs. Yeah. And they just performing. And, I got to give it to the broadcast too, because they had like the pit thing on the top and they were constantly showing the playoff points on the side and the different battles, and they were going through. So overall, NASCAR's just production, the NBC, everything that just went into this weekend, I just thought it was just spectacular. Our friend Brandon Van Scoy came over to watch, and he came to Pocono for the first time ever this year, and he absolutely loved it. Not a NASCAR fan, but last week I had found out that he had watched the Daytona race.
Yeah.
To other people, and he loved it.
Yes. Yes.
He said he was on the edge of his seat. He was cheering. He was like, and this is coming from someone that never, ever been to a NASCAR race. And here's us taking him to Pocono. And he has no idea what's going on. And he was still excited and looking forward to it. And, so when he came over on Sunday night, he would chime in every once in a while and catch me off guard. Like, whoa, how do you know? Whoa, Brandon. Okay. Like we might have a new fan on our hands here. So, that's what made me think that NASCAR must be moving in the right direction, because we are getting new fans. The excitement and the entertainment value is there.
Yeah.
And that's my point. Because I think for me, the regular season, I always said it. If you crown the regular season champion and then have the playoffs, I'm fine with the playoff format, because the regular season points to me, that's the true champion of who did best during the season.
I completely agree.
Is more gimmick for entertainment. This is for entertainment. The regular season, there's your champion, Larson. Harvick last year, there's your champion. That's who did the best over 26 races. Now here, let's give you guys entertainment.
Yeah.
That's what the chase is, and they're delivering. So I have to give my checkers just for NASCAR and sticking to their guns and not really listening to the fans and doing any knee-jerk reactions and making these weird changes and gimmicks to the playoffs. Stick to it, and hopefully, the product will come forth and produce. And I think it is.
Yeah, I think we've been saying it for a while now that you just feel the momentum for NASCAR going in the right direction. They've done a lot of things the right way too. First leading the charge on getting the Confederate flag out of here and kind of getting that stigma, that gross stigma off of NASCAR, that this is a redneck sport and it's just for rednecks. And they're lifting that stigma away from it. I think another thing too is we got a lot of young guys, a lot of young superstars who are really, really talented.
Yep.
Look at our defending champion, Chase Elliott. A lot of those guys are relatable. They're not, I wouldn't consider them, the rednecks. And you see a lot of people our age, a lot of our friends who never really watched before getting into it, seeing things that they can relate to. So I think that has a lot to do with it as well. And like Eric said, I mean, it's been really, really entertaining. The actual on-track product has been really, really entertaining. And if you're a sports fan, if you're a competitive person, you can really get into something like that. And that's what NASCAR is producing right now. Absolutely.
I think too, just moving Daytona to the end of the regular season, making that the final race at the end of the season. It's such an exciting time. It's an exciting race. Like you said, for the casual fan, you have those big ones because let's face it, like us as fans, we don't want to see a horrific crash because we know how dangerous it is. But to the casual fan, you want to see wrecks. That's what makes NASCAR cool, is cars wrecking into each other.
Right.
You know,
those commercial clips, I like to call them. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, look at that. Oh, okay. Yeah, maybe I'll watch that. You're right for sure.
But what was your records for the weekend?
I'm reckoning just Hendrick Motorsports. I know Larson did what he did, but Larson's been doing that, and I think we kind of expected that. But I wrecked them because I was high on them. They were the team to beat in my eyes as far as going into this chase. They had the dominant 4 cars as far as the team goes, rattling off wins, dominant in Larson, which he kept going. But, we saw the bad luck bug. Maybe come fight them in this first playoff race. And, they really didn't have much of this, during the regular season. I know there's a couple up and downs for Bowman here and there, but now it's playoff time. Bad time to start happening. But also, I know I'm wrecking them and they're going down, but now it's going to be interesting to see them have to step up
and battle their way back in.
Like William Byron, he's in the bottom in the cutoff. So was Bowman. Maybe these guys are going to have to bust out a win if these other drivers are incident free come the next 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Will Byron, Bowman, or Chase have to get that win, to maybe continue on? And the dominant Hendrick of the regular season, will they fiddle out in this first 3 races? So, being from the top of the mountain, Hendrick really, they fell right off of that cliff pretty fast. So I think they'll turn it around. But for this week, they came out there and had some issues.
Yeah, I picked a hell of a week to play 3 out of the 4 Hendrick drivers in fantasy. So no wonder why I came in 10th this week. How about you, Matt? What was your checkers and wreckers for the weekend?
Yeah. So it's funny how in NASCAR a week makes a huge difference, right?
Yeah.
So last week I wrecked a guy, and this week I'm giving him my checkers. That goes to one Ross Chastain. The guy was legitimately in the top 5 all race long.
Mm-hmm.
He was even in a position to steal the win if Dennis and Larson wrecked each other out at the end. I mean, I know that they both rode the wall coming out of 4-2.
Could you imagine that? I didn't even think about that as a possibility, but that was a good possibility right there.
Chastain was fighting with him. I know his tires kind of dropped off and he dropped back a few seconds, and the show was really on Dennis and Larson at the end there. But if those two rode the wall more, and just really destroyed their cars, Chastain was in prime position to steal that race. So you have to be in position, right? You have to put yourself there in order to sometimes get lucky, and he did that. So I wrecked him last week for being reckless. And this week I was really impressed by him. So kudos to him.
You know what? Ross Chastain, it's kind of surprising to me because, like we talked Brad Keselowski, when you're going to a different team or your team is going to be sold off or you're losing your charter, normally those teams don't want to put any more money or effort into that because they know it's going to go nowhere and that team's going to either fade or the driver's going somewhere else.
Yeah.
Chip Ganassi Racing, okay, they're obviously sold their team. They're getting better.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know? I don't know if it's like, hey, these cars are going to be obsolete. Let's just give it
everything,
everything, because instead of getting worse, they're just getting better as the season's going on, which is not a normal or, the common thing when either your team is folding or a driver's moving on. They tend to not want to spend the money there, but man, that and it's not just the top car, which I would assume is Kurt Busch running well. It's it's that 42 and Ross Chastain, and they're both just getting better, which to me was surprising, and noticed him up there all day too.
You know what? You make a great point. I didn't even think about that. Like, yeah, Ganassi's out at the end of the season. There's no reason for him to put any more money into Ross's car, at least. I mean, of course, Kurt is in the playoffs, and he wants to see him go far in the playoffs. Maybe that's just it. Ganassi likes winners, and maybe he just wants to go out his last season as great as possible. You know,
another thing too is both of them already have their rides locked in for next year too. So it's not like they're out there trying to prove something to someone.
No,
it's just they're racing really, really good.
Maybe that's a good point too, Matt. Maybe that team and people in that team are looking to get picked up and stay there.
Well, I believe
good point too.
Might be where, hey, listen, I don't know if I can have a job or not. Hey, I'm going to do my best.
Let's keep going.
Maybe they'll keep me around. If we all do well, maybe everyone's fighting for a job, not just the driver. Everybody here maybe is working their best to stay.
You know what? You make a great point. And right now, Trackhouse is running out of RCR on their campus. So they're obviously sharing engineering and stuff like that. Next year, they're moving into the Ganassi garages and they're taking over that full operation. So maybe it's just those Ganassi engineers, the crew chiefs, everybody like, hey, we wanna come along. Of course, you know, they already have the team set up for Daniel Suarez. I don't think they're probably not going to make any personnel changes on that car. But yeah, maybe it's, you know, the Ganassi guys like saying like, hey, we want you either to take us or we want to try to go to 2311 or wherever. You know, you got to think, yeah, true. There's a lot of engineers and car techs and everybody out there fighting for their jobs too. So you make a great point.
You know, that checkers for Chastain could almost be after I just thought of that and brought it up, it almost could be like Chip Ganassi Racing, him and Kurt, you know, ran all day long. But you know,
I think Kurt got a 6th place finish.
Yeah.
Man, you're killing it. You make a great point today. You should drink water more often.
Do you see what a hydrated mind does, Eric?
But no, because you know what? Unlike the Brad Keselowski situation, those Penske guys aren't going anywhere. You know. All right, Matt. What was your records for the weekend?
So at first, when I watched the race replay yesterday, and I saw that Kyle Busch interview, my first initial raw natural reaction was like, dude, come on.
Yeah.
You just ripped everyone on your team. You just ripped the simulator.
Yep.
You just ripped everything. And then I thought about it today.
Not Austin Dillon, though. I was surprised. He let Austin Dillon off the hook on that one.
I think that was on purpose. I think he wanted to send a message to his team.
Yeah.
But then I got to thinking, and I kind of understand why KB is upset. Now, maybe he pointed the blame at the wrong people, like his team. Yeah. I'm actually wrecking NASCAR here, and this is why. These guys aren't given an opportunity to practice, right? And if they miss the setup, they're using the race to figure it out, which just isn't fair.
That's true.
If we're at the point now, if we're allowing full grandstands, which we are, then you can no longer use COVID as an excuse to not have practice in qualifying.
There is a reason for it, and I'll get into it, but keep going.
Okay, well, yeah, shoot holes in it all you want. That's fine. But I just think, especially now that we're in the playoffs, like, who cares about qualifying at this point? We've proven that it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But practice is a serious tool that these guys use. And I think that's when Kyle said in his interview that, you know, forget sim, we're not doing sim anymore. We've got to look at other tools. I think he might have been alluding towards like, we need practice, like especially somebody like Kyle, the races that you saw that he either ran in the truck or Xfinity race or had practice that week in the cup race, he tended to run well. And he knows that about himself.
Yeah.
So they're missing it in sim. They're missing it in these setups. And he knows that they desperately need practice to work out the kinks.
So,
and you know what? I like that before you go, Whitey, but that just goes to the Penske thing. Maybe those brake issues don't happen if there's practice.
Yeah.
Maybe Keselowski doesn't take Logano out. You know, maybe Blaney doesn't blow that brake line and he finishes top 10. So like practice could, you know, make or break your race, like you're saying, and I agree.
Yeah, I'll agree. Especially for the playoffs, you need practice. You do. You just need it, to make everyone performing at their best. Like you said, Matt, they're coming in here completely dark, just going off data they had from last year or the races before.
The sim is a great. Sorry, go ahead.
No, the sim is a great tool, but you're not going to get it right 100%. And that was the story Sunday night. And usually it is the story when you have night races that transition from day into night, where the setup could be good in the beginning and then it is just absolutely unbearable at the end. And like I saw it with my driver, Tyler Reddick, listened to him on the radio. He didn't know which way to go to make his car better. It was loose in, tight coming out. Like there was no balance, The thing is, and the only defense I have for no practice right now is because of with the COVID restrictions and everything, they told the teams, these are the races that you're going to have practice. Then the teams budget for those races only. So they're showing up to the tracks with one car. They don't have it in the budget to have that backup car at this point. And I would love to see practice come back. Obviously we need it, but at this point in the season, you can't flip the script on the teams who have already budgeted out their entire year and say like, oh yeah, now we're going to run practice. And now they have to put in another couple $100,000 into a car for the weekend. Especially a small team.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Especially a small team, you just can't do it,
Like I said before, like these teams like Chip Ganassi, like they, this is the last time we're using this car, so let's just go and
throw it at it.
That's the same thing I think with this COVID protocol and the practicing. Hey, this year's the last for that. Next gen car, obviously they have said there is going to be practice next year. So
absolutely, you need it. You can't. Like, could you imagine if there's no practice next year with a brand new car?
No, see you later. Go out there.
Independent suspension, different gear ratios, all sorts of shit. Nope, just go out there.
I'll be honest with you guys. When I was writing that checkers, like I said, at first I was wrecking Kyle Busch, and then I thought about it some more, and I thought, my God, I've got some really good points. I'm going to blow their minds with it. And then boom, Whitey, you drop down my confidence there. But
I'm sorry.
But what you said totally makes sense. I never thought about the whole budget thing. That totally makes sense. And so I wrecked NASCAR, but I guess I shouldn't have. But my larger point being is everyone kind of got on Kyle Busch because it was Kyle Busch, and I'm kind of getting away from that train a little bit. That's I've done that for years now. I've been part of that mantra of, oh, it's Kyle Busch saying this, saying that, so screw him. But like, if my guy Chase Elliott said that, we would have found somewhere to agree with him, because he's the most popular driver. So I don't want to talk out of both ends of my mouth. I understand why Kyle was upset. The delivery probably wasn't the best. He probably shouldn't be taking aim at his team, but I get why he was upset.
See, I didn't even mind the interview. I loved the interview. He was honest, like that's the Kyle interview you expect.
Right.
My issue is just a safety issue. That was a little sketchy, and I get it. You want to know what? You're in the garage. You have to have your head on a swivel like that all the time anyways. And it seemed Kyle did have the car in control because he got close to a guy and you could see him hit the brakes real quick. But what if he didn't have brakes flying into the garage like that? And someone made a good point on NASCAR radio today too. Kyle just gives up so quick. Why not just go to the pit lane and see? Maybe your crew chief could pull something out of his ass and get you back out on track, at least turn some laps.
Look at Reddick at the Indy Road Course. I mean, he could have been done, and his team saved his ass.
Same at Daytona.
Got him into the playoffs. Yeah, same with Daytona. So my only thing is, but Whitey, when we were setting up a little peek behind the curtain here, when we were setting up in pre-production of the show, you had gone down to grab a water or something, and Eric and I were talking about this exact same thing.
Oh, okay. And, I was wondering why you guys reacted like that.
Eric said, like, oh, he was only going, 10, 15, 20 miles an hour. He had full control of his car. And my only retort to that was his car was freaking destroyed. Yes, at one moment his brakes were working, and yes, his power steering was working. But what if when he cranked that car to turn into those cones, something gave way, and then all of a sudden his brakes aren't working, or his steering isn't working, and he can't come to a complete stop, or he can't avoid those people? That's my only issue with it. Was like, Kyle, those cones are there for a reason. Like, you can't be doing that. Like, you got to think a little more level-headed than that at that moment.
And I think that's the exact reason NASCAR gave him that $50,000 fine, because they realized that right there. Like, yeah, if something did go wrong, could have been absolutely horrendous if something did go wrong. So I can see why they fined him. But I did like the interview. Typical Kyle Busch. We need a little bit of that. Come on, it's playoffs. Let's go.
I agree.
Playoff thing. I still think he's salty at NASCAR over New Hampshire and everything that went down too. So I think overall, Kyle Busch just not happy with the season and with NASCAR in general. So you're gonna get this from here on out, I think. So that's another thing to look forward and keep your eye on.
Side note: have you ever been in a car and the brakes go out before?
Yes.
Oh yeah, Eric had a serious situation.
Terrifying, right?
Yeah.
Like so.
Luckily, my truck was a stick shift at the time, and I was on Mundy Street going down by the diamond mine there.
Oh yeah,
brakes on Mundy Street. Luckily, downshift.
That's a steep hill for people out of the area.
So I was able to slow myself down and get into a parking lot, which was the diamond mine actually, and thankfully it was a stick shift and it ended with no harm done to me or anybody else. But it was frightening when you first realize and that pedal goes right to the floor.
Oh yeah,
it's an oh shit moment.
I've never had it happen, but I have had and it's a joke, but I'm serious. I've had nightmares of it happening, and it's terrifying. Even in just a dream, it's terrifying.
I had it happen to me in a work vehicle when I was working at the radio station. They had this Chevy Avalanche for one of the stations. I'm not going to mention it because I don't want to throw them under the bus, but the thing was dog shit. Never buy a Chevy Avalanche. Don't do it. This thing had the engine replaced. The transmission went twice. I'm almost certain they actually replaced the engine twice, because the odometer was off, and it had written inside the odometer, or maybe they replaced the control panel and the odometer was off because it had 150,000 miles written inside the door at odometer change. And then it had another 100,000 miles on the odometer. So I think this thing had 1 million or 500,000 miles on it. And, and the one DJ, Justin Taylor, had taken it to an event a couple of weeks previously, or not a couple weeks, a couple days previously. It was a Wednesday event. He went to a concert at the arena, and he goes, "Oh yeah, the brakes went out on my way back," but he didn't tell anybody, and except for my buddy Crockett. So me and Crockett were going to a radio remote. I was driving, and as I'm pulling out of the driveway, he goes, "Oh yeah, Justin Taylor said the brakes went on this the other day. I wonder if they fixed them." And as I'm rolling out, I go, "No, they didn't. They definitely didn't." So we were coming down the hill there's a big Coca-Cola plant. You guys know it, but it's a big hill, and it was a rainstorm. It was raining hard, and this Coca-Cola truck slammed on its brakes to make the turn, and I slammed on the brakes and almost slid right into it. Thankfully, I did some quick maneuvering and evaded into a passing lane, but it was terrifying. And
Ryan Blaney doing that at 180,
spinning around. Yeah. And that's the thing with Kyle Busch too. Those cars can lose brakes in the pits pretty easily too. Look at Brad Keselowski. I think it was 2 years ago. He was driving from the garage into the pits during practice. He lost his brakes and he crashed into a barrier and cut open the whole side of his car like a can opener. I forget what track it was at. I think it might have been Talladega or something too. Spent the whole night fixing it after practice. But yeah, I don't
rule over safety. That's my thing. With it gave him the fine, safety. Yeah, hands down, always gonna win.
I'm just gonna give my checkers and records really quick because we are going long today. Got to give it to Denny Hamlin. This was the race we were expecting out of Denny all year long, and of course, Denny loves the lady in black down at Darlington. He tames her every time he goes down there. And this weekend was no different. I'm wrecking myself, though, because I did not play Denny in fantasy, even though last week I picked him to win on this podcast. Throughout the week, there was some Twitter drama with his partner. And I'm not going to get into speculation on that, but she essentially left him on Twitter. She goes, "We're done. I'm taking the kids and we're getting out of here." And I thought that would affect Denny Hamlin's mindset going into Darlington.
Ice.
Cold as ice. He came into the lady in black down at Darlington, cold as ice, and he finished out first. No problem. Huge burnout at the end, but Matt even warned me. He in our text message thread.
I'm looking it up now.
Oh, I wrote it. He goes, he's finished top 5 for his entire career. 55.6% of his starts there. 78% of his starts at Darlington were in the top 10. And I go, you want to know what? He's gonna be distracted, and all day long I'm watching him run first, second, third. I go, God damn, did I make a mistake? And I'm watching that heart rate monitor they got in him. It's at 97. I'm like, my heart rate's at 110 right now. So I gotta wreck myself because Denny absolutely destroyed the lady in black down in Darlington.
It gets even better though, Whitey. What you said to me after I gave you those stats was, and I quote,
"Yeah,
I was gonna play him, but I went with Kyle and MTJ instead.
Yeah.
I have a feeling his personal life is going to affect him this week." And I said, "No way, bro. Did you see his heart rate last week? Man is cold as ice."
I know.
Ouch.
And then I even responded with the Xfinity Series stats that I didn't even watch the race, so I don't know what happened. I'm like, well, Reddick came in top 10 in an R Motorsports car, and Denny finished in like 13th or something like that. I'm like, I didn't realize Denny won a stage down there too. I didn't see any of the race, so I really, really shot myself in the foot. But is there anything else you guys had to add for the?
I don't know if you guys focused on Truex or not, but at one point during that race, he radioed to his team and he was devastated that he let his team down. And he's like, "Man, he goes, boys, this is on me. I'm gonna get it back."
Yeah.
And I'm thinking to myself, what? Yeah, get out of here, Truex, right?
Yeah.
Dude, he drove so fast up through that field. And like at one point in time, I'm like, if there's another caution, Truex had the best car at the end of that race, I feel like.
Yeah.
He was able to pass. He was able to be in traffic up front. And like, man, you talk about earlier, Matt, being there and putting yourself in position. He was kicking himself because if he doesn't have that penalty and he stays up front and gets that position, man, I think Truex was going to battle back and win that race. Because I thought at the end, he had the best car, and he was chasing him down.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he finished in 4th. He finished in 4th even with the penalty.
And what Eric is referencing to there is right towards the end of the race, Truex got caught speeding on pit road, and he came over the radio, and he said, "Oh man, like we were gonna be starting in the front, like first, like they were gonna be starting like first."
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, and like his crew chief or his spotter was like, "Yeah, buddy, we were." And you could feel like he was like, I'm so sorry. I'm gonna go get this back for us.
Yeah.
And it was like, let's go, Yeah.
At the end, that added to the excitement, and I think why I gave it such a good grade, because I did watch that Truex, run towards the end, and obviously the Larson, video game ending there, and he said, "You know what?
Right in the wall to the end.
In the wall till the end, and if Denny doesn't block, Larson does get that win in that style." So I thought the end was exciting in many different ways there, but the only other thing besides the Truex thing I wanted to bring up was the fact that, we talked about Harvick and Hendrick or Stewart Haas not performing well. Almirola ran well all day. I felt like, for Stewart Haas and Hendrick. And, one thing they were talking about Harvick, hey, last year you went in as the number 1 seed. This year you're in as the, pretty much the bottom seed. And like
seed.
now he's sitting in 6th. So go from worst to being pretty much comfortable as far as one race in is just, to me, a shocker, a little bit of a surprise for me to see Stewart Haas run well, and the Hendricks obviously had their things which propelled them, and the playoffs are a little shaken up right now as far as not what I expected after race one.
No, with all the playoff drivers that had issues this past weekend, it was a night to capitalize, and you're right, Harvick did. I wish my guy Tyler Reddick would have been able to. There was some bad pick strategy with the cautions and everything. At one point, they were put 2 laps down and everything, so they had to take a wave around. That whole thing in the middle there got real messy. There was I forget how many guys. I think everyone besides the top 6 was a lap down or 2.
I think Steve Letarte even made a joke eventually when it kind of corrected itself. He was like, the good news is for all the fans out there is your pylon scoring is going to look a lot cleaner here after this caution.
The problem is though, they knew that a caution was going to come back out as soon as the restart happened, and it did, but they went into the pits to pit for 4 tires. I wish they stayed out, took that wave around, because a couple guys did gamble. But really it shot Reddick in the foot. It shot Bell in the foot. He got stuck in the lower top 20 there. Almirola was another guy, like you said, Eric. He was running top 10 all day long, and he was a victim of that too. Just a lot of guys that needed to capitalize. A lot of guys that people thought would be out in round 1 could have capitalized, and they just missed the mark, And it's unfortunate, but like you said, that's what makes the playoffs exciting. That's what makes this time of year exciting, is anything could happen. One guy could have a real bad race, and it changes the complexity of the entire playoffs for a lot of people. One of those guys, Michael McDowell, his day ended early after an accident. Here on the Bump Around podcast, everyone loves to talk about the winner. We like to talk about the last place driver, and that was one Michael McDowell, currently 16th in the playoff standings, running -20. He was hoping to make something happen at Darlington. Like I said earlier, those Fords seem to run very well at the 750 package, and McDowell having one of the best seasons he's ever had, even though he isn't normally a contender for the win every week. He's still been running in the top 20, which is a big improvement from where he's been in the last couple of years for Front Row Motorsports. So just an unfortunate end to his day early on. But yeah, that's the last place driver. You guys want to jump into the pickle lane segment?
Yeah, I think we already kind of did them.
Yeah,
right?
we covered a couple already. So my first one was, should we move the Clash to the LA Coliseum? It seems like we're all in favor of the move. Just wondering how they're logistically going to make it happen, whether it's going to be a dirt race, a concrete race, an asphalt race, or what have you. The other pickle lane before the news broke, I had, should Kyle Busch be fined for Saturday? And if so, what should the fines be? I think $50,000 is justified enough. But I wrote down 2 others. What do you guys think about the car number? Are you in favor? Are you still on the fence? Or are you totally against moving the car number 4? Like we said, we saw a glimpse of it on Austin Dillon's Twitter and Instagram. You can check it out on his social medias. At first, when I saw that Kurt Busch one, I didn't like it. This one looks a little bit better. What do you guys think?
I'm nervous. I didn't think it would bother me as much as it has the past couple times I've seen renderings of it. That Austin Dillon one I saw today made me a little nervous.
Yeah.
I really loved what it looked like for the All-Star race last year at Bristol when they moved it back towards the rear wheel. So, but with all that being said, I'll get used to it. The number placement isn't going to change, how they race on the racetrack. It'll just be something that we get used to. And, after a couple races, we're not even going to notice it.
Yeah. I was on the same camp as far as what does it matter? It's a number, but a lot of people in the sport love the paint schemes and love the die cast and love how a car looks on the racetrack. And, it's going to take a while to get used to. Yes. And we're all going to have to get used to, because it seems they are going that direction, and it is definitely going to be moved. So, do I like it? No, not at all. Because, like, to me, it should be in the middle. It looks the best in the middle aesthetically to the eye. I kind of agree with Matt as far as back. I think might look a little better to me than in the front. What's single digit versus double digit going to look like? I think the paint scheme, the color of the car, and how they design it matters. I think in the middle of the door, it didn't matter about the paint scheme, the color, the pattern. It looked good. I think with this, the paint scheme, you kind of have to tweak it to make it look half decent. So I'm not a fan of it. Am I going to have to deal with it? Of course. But I just think it's an unnecessary change. Like, how much more room are they getting?
Yeah, I don't get that at all.
What's the difference? Like, you're still, I don't know. I just don't, it's a necessary thing. You're already nailing us fans with so much change already. And then you have to do that, which has nothing to do with the product on the racetrack. So I just think it's unnecessary. Maybe they could have done it later on, but new car, next gen, I guess they figured, why not do it now?
All right. I was just looking at my car collection over here, trying to see, like, I'm like, I don't know. Do they have to move it? Can't they just kind of incorporate the number into the logos and stuff? I don't know. At first, I didn't give a shit. I was like, yeah, whatever, move the number. It doesn't matter. But now seeing it does feel just a little wrong. Maybe it'll take.
It just feels wrong.
I would love to get I've never talked to my dad about this, and he's an old school NASCAR fan. So I would love to get a perspective and he's a level-headed NASCAR fan too, being from the older generation. So Dad, if you've listened this far into it, comment on probably the Facebook page would probably be easiest for him to find. Yeah. Comment and let us know how you feel about that. I'm curious to see what an older generation NASCAR fan feels about that, because I know Shrey, who's closer to our age than anything else, probably feels not the greatest about it too. So anyone really who's listening to this, comment, let us know your take on it. We want to hear, fan interactions and feedback from you guys too.
Absolutely. The next pick lane, the cone is out. Your choice to choose. We've been seeing this past weekend, we saw a doubleheader with the trucks and cups on the same day. Coming up in Richmond on Saturday, we're going to see Xfinity followed by Cup. What are your thoughts on the double header race day? Should we do more?
I'm going to fence sit here. I'm not going to have a sexy answer for you. It honestly all depends on what I'm doing that day.
Yeah.
If I'm super busy and I'm running around, then it sucks because I'm going to miss something somewhere along the lines. But if it's one of those Saturdays or Sundays where there's not much going on, I'm home, then it's amazing and I love it. So it all depends for me.
I think I'm in the exact lane you are, Matt. This past week, obviously, I watched the truck race, and that was because the Cup was coming on. I was preparing for the day, have it on. I knew it was going to be there. It actually helped me watch the Truck Series race, and those double headers. I know we went through a couple of them at Pocono there, and for the fans, and you're buying that ticket, you're getting more bang for your buck. So that's always good for the race fan. But for the most part, it doesn't really affect me unless I'm going. If I'm going to that race, it'd be awesome to see as many races as possible.
Yeah, see, that's my point. I want more double headers. Even Matt, for your whole point, because for me, it's tough to spend a Friday night watching the trucks, then set aside a couple hours for Saturday for the Xfinity, then set aside a couple hours for Cup on Sunday. It was a whole lot easier on Sunday to be like, all right, well, we got the trucks at 1:30. We got a Cup coming up later on. So let's run more. Let's do trucks at 11 o'clock on a Sunday. Then you could run those 3 o'clock races for Cup on Sunday afternoon. I think, and like you said, Eric, the only argument I could see is for the campers, because campers aren't going to get their full long weekend of events. But you're still getting your money's worth. It's just more condensed into a day or two,
I I think in the summer months, where there's not a lot of sporting events going on, I think, yeah, hell yeah, let's get more doubleheaders on a Saturday or a Sunday.
Yeah.
But it's tough now, especially in the fall, for there's a lot of crossover in the NASCAR world there's a lot of football fans too, right?
That's true.
It's tough to get it in, especially with the NFL starting on Sunday. This Sunday, it's nice, and it's harder. Like if there's NFL on a Sunday okay, now we have to balance between the truck race, the cup race, and football. So, but you got to fit it in. You got to fit it in somewhere. So it's tough. I guess it's all circumstantial for me.
Yeah, you make a good point. I didn't even think about the conflicting schedules with football and other sports and
I
stuff.
think that's a huge reason why Richmond is on Saturday night this weekend, is because they know it's the opening weekend of the NFL on Sunday.
Oh yeah,
they
why
don't
would you
want to
want
go
to
up
compete
against it?
No,
yeah.
you don't want to do that. All right, well, that's all I had for the Pick a Lane segment. Let's jump into next week's preview. Like I said, doubleheader coming up Saturday, 2:30, the Go Bowling 250 at Richmond for the Xfinity Series. And then Saturday night, 7:30 on NBCSN, the Federated Auto Parts 400 salute to first responders at Richmond. And your top 10 will be, according to Bob Pockrass's math, Kyle Larson starting in P1, followed by 1, James Dennis Allen Hamlin. Starting in row 2, starting in 3rd, Martin Truex Jr. and Kurt Busch. Row 4 is going to be Kevin Harvick and Joey Logano. And rounding out row 5, your 9th place, Brad Keselowski. 10th place, Ryan Blaney. Matt, let's get into the picks. Give us some stats. It looks like this week Eric's going to be picking first. He picked Kyle Busch to win last week. It got him 2 points. Matt, you're going to be picking second. You picked Martin Truex Jr. He got you 38 points. And I went with the race winner, Denny Hamlin, last week. He got me 57 points.
All right, just like I always do, guys. I take stats from the last 4 races. So let's just get right into it. Wins out of the last 4 races, wins. Martin Truex Jr. cleaned up both races in 2019 there. Keselowski won the 2020 playoff race there last year, and then Bowman won earlier this year. The average finish inside the top 10, you've got Martin Truex Jr. with a 2.3, Logano with a 4.8, Denny Hamlin with a 5.5, Kyle Busch with the 6th place average finish, and Keselowski with the 6.5. Super interesting, going back, Martin Truex Jr. used to really, really struggle at short tracks, and he's really started dominating. He's completely turned it around. And then our favorite stat that we've got here is the top 5 total accumulated points here. So Martin Truex Jr. in the last 4 races at Richmond has accumulated 213 total points. That's head and shoulders above second place Joey Logano at 179. Keselowski at 172, Dennis Hamlin at 171, and then KFB at 162. So there's one person who's really been dominating here recently. So take that with what you will.
All right, Eric. Well, you're up first. Where are you going with for the race down at Richmond this weekend?
Well, I was surprised in how well he came back after that mishap. And, he put his team on his back knowing he screwed up. And, Matt just stated how dominant he is here. And whenever, that 19 cars in that 750 package at these short tracks, he seems to show up and get it done. So I'm going to go with the 19 and Martin Truex Jr.
Hell yeah. I'm going to stay in that camp. I've got a guy that is pissed off. I've got a guy that's not happy. Usually when he has these huge famous interview rants, he comes back the next week and wins. I'm taking 1 KFB, Kyle Busch.
All right. No surprise in those 2 picks. So I was looking at Martin Truex Jr., obviously. Kyle Busch, definitely a great pick.
Can we go 3 weeks in a row with all of us taking the 3 guys that I had written down? Let's see.
I don't know, because you want to know what, like, short tracks are like Brad Keselowski would always be my go-to. If I don't know who to pick for a short track, I'm going with Brad. But this season is unlike his past seasons. Like, I know he's in the playoffs, but are they giving him playoff grade opportunities here? I don't think so. So I go Logano. I mean, like you said, he runs really well. He was second in points behind Martin Truex Jr. overall, which makes him really tempting. You know, he's starting in 8th place here. Do we go with Ryan Blaney, who's been real hot for Team Penske? He seems like the top dog at Penske, at least right now. But is Blaney a great short track driver?
I thought about going with Hendrick. Like, I said, I wrecked him a bounce back race, but
yeah,
being first, I think I had to go MTJ. But if I wasn't first, I think I might have been Hendrick for a bounce back week.
Yeah, I mean, Bowman did win there earlier this year. So
who did Bowman beat out?
You're asking too much from me.
Was it Larson? Hold on. I'm sorry to do this. I got to look up the stats on there because Bowman won because of a late pit strategy. They pumped up those tires and they got him a good jump on that restart with 3 or 4 to go, something like that. So let's see who came.
You have a better memory than I do. I was actually
he beat Denny.
Stats,
he beat Denny Hamlin.
Okay.
Denny just won. He's going to be starting up front. Does he go back to back? Does he go on a playoff tear? Has he been playing possum this whole time? Has he ripping and tearing? Has he been playing possum on us? I don't know. Joey Logano came in 3rd though. Christopher Bell was a guy that I was thinking throughout this whole thing because earlier on, when it came to short track races earlier on in the season, Christopher Bell was running really well and really quietly. I am all over the place. I hate when I do this. Because I'm just going to take a shot in the dark.
Find out in next week's episode of the Bump and Run podcast who Whitey takes.
You know what? I'm going with Christopher Bell. That was my original gut instinct, was Christopher Bell. And I'm going to pick him. We'll see what happens. It's a shot in the dark. It's a dark horse. But you want to know what? He's running for playoffs. He's trying to win his way into the next round.
I don't hate it. I'll tell you what.
I don't hate it either. I had Logano as that 3rd pick, so I was like, "Oh, is he gonna pick him?"
I was looking at Logano too, and you want to know what? I just don't trust Penske right now. I don't trust their equipment.
I like your thinking, Matt, because I was thinking Logano as well because he's been too quiet.
And when that happens, usually when that happens, he wins.
He sneaks one out.
Son of a bitch, yeah. So he's been quiet.
I mean, he came in 3rd in the spring.
You already picked Christopher Bell.
Christopher Bell came in 4th in the spring, though. I have faith in Christopher Bell. I have faith in Gibbs over there. We're all picking Gibbs drivers this week. I'm going with Bell. Final answer. Let's jump in. We'll give you a playoff picture recap. Right now, Denny Hamlin advances to round number 12. Kyle Larson is 2nd, plus 80 points to the good. Martin Truex Jr. in 3rd with 36 points to the good. 4th is Kurt Busch with 26 points to the good. I kind of wanted to pick Kurt Busch, but I just looked at his fall results at Richmond, and it was like 18th, 13th, staying away from Kurt Busch there. Ryan Blaney, 22 points to good. Joey Logano, 21 points to good. Will I be eating my words on Monday night next week and saying, man, I should have picked Joey Logano? Probably. Kevin Harvick, 20 points to good. Brad Keselowski, 12 points to good. Christopher Bell, only 5 points to good. Chase Elliott, 4 points to good. Eric Almirola is 15th right now. Or no, he is 13th. He is 11th right now with 3 points to good. Tyler Reddick is even on that cut line at 12th. Alex Bowman in your 13th spot. He is even with Tyler Reddick, showing just below that cutoff line. Kyle Busch, -2 points. Can you believe Kyle Busch is -2 points going into the battle for the round of 12? I cannot.
He's going to win this week.
He probably will. I don't know. We'll see what happens. We'll see we'll see if they nail the setup. It's another night race. Track temperatures change. Who knows what's going to happen? William Byron, -9 points in 15th right now. And of course, Michael McDowell, -20 points, sitting in 16th. That is your playoff picture for this week. Will it be a Gibbs driver to win the Federated Auto Parts 400 salute to first responders at Richmond this Saturday night, 7:30. Will it be MTJ? Will it be Kyle Effin Busch? Or will it be quiet Christopher Bell? We will find out Saturday night under the lights in Richmond, 7:30 on NBCSN. And of course, we'll break it all down for you Monday night right here on the Bump and Run podcast. For Matt the Statman Reilly, for Eric Daytona Ron, I'm Michael D. White saying have a good night.
Bump and